We're live.
Well, welcome everyone to College Council. So good to see everyone. We have a number of guests that I am going to introduce, beginning with one of my mentors, who I'm so glad that we were able to reconnect, is helping us. And I'm going to ask Tilly to introduce her because she's been working with Tilly. So Tilly, if you wouldn't mind introducing our guest.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My pleasure to introduce Dr. Harwin Kinde to my lab. And I'm excited because I met Harwin in 2020. And we met by Zoom. And she has been a mentor for me for California community colleges since 2020 and just become a really good friend. And a bonus is that she actually worked with our president, Ricky Shabazz, back in the day when he was the vice president of student services. So he knows everything instruction because of Harwin. That's a plug for her. You want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I know quite a few of you. And I feel like San Diego City is a very special place, and it is. It's always the heart of the leadership. So you can look into leaders, your leaders in your area, but it is rare to have, it is a desirable place where we are right now, the care and the connectedness of everyone. So I'm very honored and privileged and just happy to be with all of you. I made a point to be in person rather than in Zoom this time. There's something about seeing each other in the same high and national people. So we're do the best academic.
And if I can add, Harwin is here this time of year for us. She also has come on to help me have so many new people turn on, especially in the women's area, that she's also been working with as a mentor with them as well. So we're kicking off our Dean's Academy Phase 2 tomorrow, and Harwin's helping me with that. Thank you for welcoming.
I would just echo a couple of things that absolutely Dr. Kinde, I owe her a great deal of teaching me instruction. So happy that she agreed with so many new deans and managers to come on and serve as a mentor for them. Her knowledge in California community colleges is immense and has taught a number of folks along the way. So to be able to have her as a mentor for all of us is a great opportunity. Speaking of mentorship, there are two colleagues that we have joining us who are shadowing me for two different mentor programs. One is Dr. Angela Davis, who's coming to us from North Carolina. She's waving there. Good to see you, Dr. Davis. And also, Dr. Banks is joining us from Compton. He's in the ACA mentor program. And so regularly we send our colleagues to be in these kind of programs. Denise went through Lincoln like Dr. Davis did, as well as John. And many of us, myself included, went through the ACA mentorship program, Marciano and others. And so they are watching us via Zoom, and will be listening in on our College Council meeting, which is the highest level of governance at San Diego City College. And I agree completely with Dr. Kinde. I am surrounded by the leaders of the campus who represent every segment of the campus. I'm going to do introductions of those leaders. And so, you know, for those who are watching via YouTube, if you would like to bring an item forward to College Council, you can do so one or two ways. First, by reaching out to the president's office, Janelle or Ellie, they would be glad to put an agenda item on College Council. Or you can reach out to one of the leaders who I'm going to introduce momentarily, beginning with Tilly, the Vice President of Instruction.
Present.
Robbie, Chair of Institutional Technology.
Present.
Caesar, Information Officer. Present. Jay, Supervisory Rep. Present. Suna, Chair of Chairs. Present. Susan, Dean of Institutional Effectiveness. D, congratulations, D is the new administrative representative. We had a vote. And Dee volunteered herself, another one of our amazing leaders on campus. Dee is obviously here. Diego, the reason why we're all here, the president of the Associated Student Governments. Roxanne is standing in for John Parker.
He's present.
Thank you, Roxanne. Marciano, Vice President of Student Services.
Present.
John, President of Classified Senate.
Present.
And Maria Jose Zaron Perez, President of the Academic Senate. These are the leaders of our constituency groups. If you would like to put forth an agenda item, you can reach out to any one of them. We absolutely believe in participatory governance. And before I go into the first, no, actually, I'll save that. We need a motion for approval of the July 25th meeting minutes. Someone would like to make a motion for approval?
This is Sean, motion to approve.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second? Thank you, Jay. Any discussion about the meeting notes from July 25th? Hearing none, if you see some, you can reach out to Janelle or Ellie, and we do update these meeting notes by loading them to the college's website. You can search for College Council, they will come up. Speaking of coming up, we did an amazing job. I want to thank Susan, Marco, and others who worked on our accreditation report. It was submitted with many challenges, but they made it happen. And I believe Susan and Marco are going to provide an update.
Yes.
And Janelle has some slides to help us too.
Yeah.
And then they're in the packet too. Get those in on time. I'll go off of the packet and then it'll show up on the screen. On page 3, this is just our wrap up, kind of just nuts and bolts to give you an idea of this is the finished product, by the way. So here it is. Very nice looking, right? And so Susan and I are still alive. We made it. But the report is it's 200, well, just about 240 pages long, which is almost exactly what they suggested it be. We didn't do that on purpose. It kind of just worked out that way. But yeah, we like to say planning and ahead got us there. But yeah, about 240 pages long, all told. Almost 700 pieces of evidence that we cited in the report. Some highlights from it. These are just some things that as we finished putting it together that kind of stuck out, that were themes. Some strengths for the college, the integrated program review process really stuck out in terms of its growth, even from the last time we submitted our report in 2017. Definitely a theme of strong student-centered support systems, and just some of the examples we pulled out were all the different hubs that we have going for our students, the Hunger Action Days, some things like the Proctoring Center. Those were definitely themes that stuck out that the college has done really well over the last several years. The new governance system, or the clarification of it and streamlining of it, that was something that we cited quite a bit in terms of how we make decisions and how we anticipate using the system to help us continue to make decisions that are clear and concise and that everybody can follow along. And then also another strength that we saw was the ability for different people on campus, those constituent groups, to bring forward ideas. It's definitely a sense that you can bring forward any idea that you have, and it can make its way through the governance system for people to be able to hear it. So those were highlights that we just wanted to point out. Those aren't all of them, but those are some of the ones that I think stuck out as we were putting the report together. And then some areas that you will have copies of, or you do now, the areas of improvement. This is really kind of the purpose of the report, and the self-analysis asked us, based on the standards, to objectively look at how we do things, and can we look for areas that we could strengthen our alignment with the standards. And there were 15 that we came up with, or that we identified, and we have them in this packet here. And the accreditation committee over the next year really is going to has a plan for how they're going to follow up and be able to take action on those throughout the process of post submitting the report.
And probably at least half, if not 2/3, there's already something in process. There's either a plan or a group that's assigned to do the planning, or there's already some action underway, but it wasn't complete. We also, have the submission of the report in this new model from ACCJC just starts the review process. And we'll have a little bit more to say later, but this is just the first interaction that we're going to have with the team. So there are several more opportunities to bring new information into the conversation too.
Next slide. We did want to say thank you. Well, one to Susan's office in particular for helping us, all sorts of stuff, getting the links corrected and helping us format some of that stuff towards the end. A big thank you to all of them. Very professional from my standpoint, extremely professional working with them, and it was always a pleasure. And then Alexander Gardella, our editor, he did a fantastic job.
And he's on Zoom. I don't know if we can get him on screen, but he wasn't able to be on campus today, but we want to introduce him. Al is in our English department. There he is. And was our extremely skilled and knowledgeable editor who just kept things on track, kept us going through multiple passes through the document, and every time it got better.
Yeah, so we wanted to say thank you to Al. And then Kurt Self at the district. He helped us with the final converting this giant document and its links into something that could be shared publicly with the peer review team. So he was great and very patient with us. I didn't think he had to be as patient as he was because we asked him for quite a bit, but he did an awesome job. And so we want to thank Kurt at the district.
Yeah, he came up with a process to take. We were using SharePoint to store all of the evidence, and SharePoint is our internal platform, and ACCJC's requirement is that the review team would be able to have access to the evidence without having to log in somewhere. So he created a script that took all of those links and files and moved them somewhere where they could be directly accessible. It was way beyond our capabilities, but saved us from recreating all 680 some of those documents in a different location. Oh, and I'm sorry I didn't get this on the slide, but Victor Silva from Caesar's team did our cover design and helped us. As you look through the introduction, there are a lot of data presented about the college, and he helped us align those so that they were in a consistent color scheme and just much more polished than all of the disparate sources that we pulled them from.
And then next slide, John. And I'll let Susan, I'll let you go through this one, but this is just the timeline for this semester. Like Susan mentioned earlier, submitting the report is really step one. It's the longest portion, but it's step one. And then we get actually this nice kind of back and forth interaction now with our peer review team on several different occasions, and Susan will go over that.
Yes, so we have a chair and vice chair identified, and the team members have been named. And our team chair is going to be coordinating with Ricky's office in the very near future to set up 2 campus events that are going to lead into the review team convening on October 16th to look at our report and do their first draft of their team report. Sometime early in October, and these first 2 events will be virtual. So they will be on Zoom, the team will not be present on campus, but sometime early in October, about a month ahead of when the team convenes, there will be what's being called a meet and greet event, where college leaders, which most of the folks around the table here, and other leadership from constituency groups, administration, faculty, etc., We'll just have an opportunity to be introduced to the team members to find out who's focusing on which section, so they can put names to faces and understand a little bit more about city. And then tentatively, subject to approval by the representatives from the team, we're holding October 13th as the date for an open campus forum with the peer reviewed team members. So they will run this event. But everyone on campus will be invited. Per ACCJC's practice, that event doesn't include executive leadership. It's for the rest of the college community.
And they were clear about that.
Yes. And then, as I said, October 16th, then the team will convene virtually. And be, by that time, they will have been expected to review the report and evidence. Each of the team members is going to have an assignment for which particular standards they're taking a look at. So they will share their impressions and their findings and come out with the draft report. And then moving on to the second column, by mid-November, we should have the 4 inquiries report. And it's being called that because it identifies the areas of inquiry that will be the focus for the visit. So we are scheduling Friday, December 1st as our planning summit for the fall semester, and that will be our opportunity to review the report, determine who is going to be directly involved in the visit, because the visit will only address those issues that are identified as core inquiries. That means that everything else the team is satisfied with, and they are not going to need to do interviews or look at additional evidence during the visit in February. So once we know what that landscape looks like and who the folks are that are involved, we will set up a mock visit in late January, where we will have an opportunity for those folks that will be involved to practice their interviewing skills and take a look at some of the kinds of questions that they might encounter. And then the site visit will be the week of February 26th. ACCJC has asked us to put a hold on that week. The visit itself is likely to be 1.5 to 2 days, depending on the number of issues that they want to follow up on. So we will get calendar holds out if we haven't already. That is the schedule that we anticipate, and then that will be the end of the process for us. The team will make their report and send it to the commission, and then when the commission acts on it next June, so 10 months from now, that will be the end of the process. Questions?
Hearing none, let me thank everyone involved in this. This took the entire college. Certainly, folks had roles, and we want to acknowledge them for their roles. Al, thank you for being a wonderful editor, and I am confident, because Susan is confident, that this has been a very successful experience. We will continue to share these dates with you throughout the fall. I would ask everyone to please, in your respective meetings, make sure that people get access to this document, which I believe we sent the electric version of it in my campus email that I just recently sent out. Susan, I think we were having a discussion of whether or not this will be public at some point or another. It's required to be posted publicly when we get the action letter from ACCJC next June. Prior to that, we can use other means to make it accessible within the campus while the review is still underway. So we'll probably send it out a couple of times. Certainly, this will be one of the slides at convocation. I didn't want to print out a version of this similar to what we did to the governance handbook. You see, these are just gold because we just we just mail the governor's handbook to every house.
You don't have to know that.
And we believe in the series of 3, Dr. Kendi, because some folks are missing emails, so we're doing snail mail again, but when I saw that document, I decided to side with the electronic version. So we will make some available hard copies, but we'll continue to share the document electronically with the campus. Any questions for Marco or Susan?
Not so much a question, but maybe just a thought. I really appreciate the process and thank you all for leading it. I think it was quite obvious to me and kind of right in the middle maybe, and how I can appreciate what needs to happen here on the campus. What we're doing great, we do wonderful stuff, but I kind of really like how it aligns with College Council that we've identified the SOPs that need to be done, and that was quite obvious to me in here. Like, this is a plan. We're going to work on this. We have to touch on this process. So it was really neat to finally just see something that really aligns. You know, because sometimes you do things over here, you park them there, and you go on over here. It was just kind of nice to, for me, anyways, I could see that kind of meshing together. So those of you that haven't dug into it yet, you'll get your chance.
Yes.
Yeah, first, thank you, because I know it has taken a lot of work and it takes a village. And I know a lot of people participated, the writing groups. I mean, it was some deep work and it took a lot of time. So thank you for organizing everything, Marco and Susan, because that was really helpful. So what I'm hoping, you know, from what I learned from the process, since I started in one of the standards groups and all that, is I hope from all this learning experience that we have something that is continuous, so permanent. So hopefully the accreditation committee becomes one of the most important committees on this campus, so they can continuously do the work, because as we can see here, there's always good things and then room for improvement. So it'd be nice if we have a plan where every semester, you know, we're taking on a couple of standards and that becomes continuous. So when the term, I think it's 7 years, right?
That's what we're aiming
When it
for.
comes around, yeah, we already have almost everything set up, so it's not kind of racing against the clock, trying to put everything together. So I'm hoping that, you know, from the academic senate also, we can support that effort, and I'm sure from the college council in terms of how can we keep it permanent and really being one of the most important committees on this campus, as the work never ends or slows down.
And ACCJC is evolving their processes too. In that report is about 200 pages shorter than the one that we did in 2017. And the next time we go through this, we will be under a revised version of the standards. We kind of just missed it. Those will go into effect, I believe, visits starting in the fall of 2024. And the standards themselves are probably only a third the length of the current standards. So it's really focusing down on what's important, and then it's our job to, as Maria Jose said, keep continuously looking at how our activities and priorities align with those standards.
And with that, since we're talking about the handbook, the governance handbook, do we know where the accreditation committee is housed? Is it housed under the college council,
It's under the
College
city
Council.
planning council.
city planning council? Okay. And then they'll have like a permanent chair and all that. We can talk about all that later, but I assume it's part
Yeah,
of
it's a
the
standing
structure of the
committee.
governance.
Yeah, and to your point, Maria Jose, that, and I'm glad you raised the last question with your point that it is ongoing and should, I agree completely, remain ongoing as it relates to the governance structure and the reporting structure, both twofold, if you will. One being through city planning, and then the other being that Dr. Murray is on College Council, that we would have regular updates and communications reports both here and through city planning. Yes.
That sounds really good. Thank you.
Any other comments? And again, just.
Just one thing just to add before we move to the next topic, it's just, you guys could, you'll be able to flip through the last few pages, and those are the areas of improvement that we identified, the 15 that are there. And just shortly, just a short description, the accreditation committee will, once we begin meeting, we'll be reaching out to the different parts of campus we've identified, if there's somewhere missing, we will find them. And we want to start a discussion in terms of these areas of improvement and how we can begin the work on them. And we'd like to have some resolution for them by, well, as soon as possible, as long as it takes. So we'd like to prioritize them. And so these are things that the peer review team will ask about, because we self-identified, and then we'll get new things too in the core Anchors report. And so the accreditation committee will take a lead on that, and then we'll report about what Maria Jose talked about this plan for continual assessment. We have a plan that we discussed last year that we will, once this is over, we will engage, we'll talk about what we plan to have to do that.
And what I would request, Nelly, is let's put this areas of improvement on the next exec cabinet. And also the managers meet as well. And then as we get word, and I do have an email, thank you, Susan, because I did receive an email yesterday from our chairs that if I could ever be at my desk for more than 5 minutes, I promise I will respond to them. So thank you for the reminder. Any other comments for the good of the order? Hearing none. Again, thank you.
Quick question.
Yes.
Is there a theory of which areas of improvement is top priority? Or is it just things that the campus wants to focus on?
So I would defer to my colleagues to answer that because I wouldn't want to be influencing that. But what I hope to be able to do, Diego, is you see the responsible parties is to work with the college administration to come up with a game plan that I can also share with the academic senate and ultimately circle back around here to answer that question. But I can open the floor if folks have some ideas of which of these is most important. I know Maria Jose and I talk about some of the ones that are very important. Any thoughts?
It's probably too, in terms of what takes longer too.
Yes.
Some things we start and it'll take longer to complete. Others are probably, they may be important, but are simpler. This is a little bit of a combination.
But to your point or question, Diego, but I would hope to do working with Susan and Marco and all the campus leaders to develop some kind of timeline that relate to these. I can tell you, I have personally taken on the standardized operating procedures and requested that John Parker find a consultant who can help us with this, because we spent the last year volunteering people to do some of these things. And with the intensity of the campus and coming back from COVID, we really do need to bring in a company who specializes in this that can help us with this, because when you're writing desk manuals, if you can call it that, like your regular work doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So to be able to bring someone that has an expertise and maybe has done this, that can help you formulate the things in a universal, consistent manner. But with so many new people, we are learning that the folks who retired or left us also took with them a great deal of institutional knowledge. And in some cases, we just didn't know there wasn't a manual because the person may have done what they did either so well or so long that we relied on their memory of things. So that is one of my top priorities. As a matter of fact, I'll be outlining that as part of convocation, the desire to bring in consulting using state COVID funds to work with the academic senate. They have their manuals and things that they're putting in place, and they come up with timelines about how to tackle some of these things. Thank you. Other thoughts? Hearing none. Thank you all again. Let's on to the next item on the agenda, which is Roxanne talking about a move. And here's another area that we're reminding folks that there is indeed a process to request the space, and that does not involve finding an open space and taking ownership over it. Roxanne.
Right, okay, so I just want to be very clear that this process is different from a facilities request. Meaning a facilities request is needed when there's an event on campus, special activity, or something like that. So this the request for space form is when there is to give an example, an open office where you may not have an office, or you have a new employee and that person is going to start and they have nowhere to sit. So in order for you to gain space on the campus, you would fill out this request for space form. This form is on our website under forms and business on the business services page. Business services page. The requester, there are some things that are very important when you're thinking about moving into spaces. Some programs and activities go along with that. So if you're turning in instructional space, I would use the Veteran Center as an example. That was an instructional space that is now the Veteran Center. That space did not have an office for a counselor. It wasn't laid out to be a center with offices. So there's a cost that's associated with turning a space into something that you need to be. So be mindful of that. So going through this request process, the requester will fill this out, keeping those things in mind. They will discuss this with their division dean, have the division dean sign it. This form is ultimately sent to the vice president of that division, discussed. If signed, it is submitted via email to the Vice President of Administrative Services. The Vice President of Administrative Services will present this form to the Review of Services Committee. And that's where it's discussed and approved. And then the dean, the requester, and the VP of that division is notified via email if it's approved. Any questions?
Is this for temporary use or for long term?
Long term. And it specifies on the back and asks how often is the space going to be used, and it's 24-hour period, what days, and if this is a long term.
But ultimately, it would be for both. But the majority of the requests we receive are for long term. I would also add, I think I saw Tilly's hand, I would also add that we tend to see the need for this. This is my second go around. So first, this form was birthed because we moved into the A building and the T building, and then that opened up spaces. And people started to commandeer spaces and furniture and things. So this is the process that was birthed through College Council, participatory governance. We are now back in the time where we're seeing a similar thing occur. The vice presidents and I, Caesar, took a tour of the campus. I'm going to take a tour with the Academic Senate on Thursday, because during the pandemic, with a very quick exodus, when we returned with the number of retirees and resignations, that once again, people largely are trying to occupy offices for storage. That's not what they're there for. And so we saw some very interesting things today that we look forward to sharing with you all on Thursday. Both spaces that have been commandeered and spaces that have been ignored and spaces we didn't know anything about, and everything in between. And I want to put it out there. We'll have a more detailed presentation that we are looking for a space for a parent center. We're looking for a space for but I want to not say the actual term because I don't want to give it away. We are looking for a place to launch an intervention that we will announce during convocation. I want to kind of keep that hat in the bag. And then we are looking for an API or NPC center. And then we are looking for space for Susan's team that has grown and expected to grow by 2 people. And she may have found a solution in her current location, but in fact has outgrown her current location, as we have all these reportings for the state that require some level of data that we've added or in the process of adding to additional staff and institutional effectiveness, which means that they. Now, I would remind us that our campus was built out for 24,000 students. We don't have that in terms of duplicated for students, unduplicated students, whichever one. So we don't have a shortage of space, but what we found is that people are not using the process and have occupied some spaces that we now need to go tell them, we probably need to get your stuff out of there or find a place for you to put your stuff or find you an office. The challenge that we have is indicative of Susan's situation, which when offices or programs grow, we may have conservatively 20 empty offices, but they're not in the same places. So that is the challenge we have. And so when someone decides to occupy an office with storage, that limits our ability to try to keep people in teams together, which is when and where possible our priority. Tilly.
Thank you. I wanted to bring, just looking when we come back at the next time. It does ask on the space request form, in the back, it says, will there changes to the room to be required, anything like that? Will you also then cover or have John cover the site improvement system at that time or refer to that? Just so people know, because if it does require, right, would that be a site improvement?
Yes.
I just want to make sure so people don't think
Budget for that.
I filled this out, everything should be ready, right? But money has to go.
Yes.
That's part of his response too. So that's part of the response from the Review of Services Committee, which has district facilities on that committee. So when they are asking and it requires some type of renovation or something, they will suggest that and give a quote. So then that's the response to the requester and the need of the PP.
Yeah. And thank you for that question. Like in the example that Roxanne used with the Veterans Center, they had a grant, and that grant allowed for the offices to be built, which allowed us to build 2 offices in the Veterans Center. And so that's a very big part of it. What we also found and find, as Susan and I were talking earlier, is when you're building offices or adding staff to a space that was not originally an office, then you're talking about what we call affectionately as drops or professionally as drops, which are the electricity, the internet, those things have to be dropped from the ceiling, or depending on where the space is, maybe from the floor, and there's a cost associated with that. We're not seeing that as much as we're seeing people have decided to move into spaces without following this process. And so Tilly and Marciano will work with their respective teams to get the form back out to the managers. We're going to walk the spaces again with the academic senate on Thursday. The deans will walk the spaces with their vice presidents, and we're going to have to communicate with folks that they probably need to get their items out of the locations that they've placed them. Yes.
Well, first, thank you, because you know I love a form, because then you can see everything somewhere, somehow, how people are asking for anything that they need. Is there like a timeline? Because my concern is that we see very clearly how the process works, but there's no timeline. We leave people really not knowing when they're gonna get an answer to the question. So is it possible to add timelines to the form? Let's say within 2 weeks, you will get an ansser?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we probably could do, Roxanne, is that if I'm hearing you, it goes in front of the Review of Services Committee. So they would hear back a week after the meeting. right? And they can check the website for the next meeting, right? So based on when you submitted, you would hear back a week after the next meeting.
Yeah, what I think we can do is put the review of services, meeting date.
Yeah, I was just,
And then, so then the person will know that it goes to the review, which it says here. And then they will know if they submitted it either before or after a meeting, they know that it's their upcoming meeting date.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really helpful, so
Yeah.
people can follow up if they didn't hear anything after a week.
Yeah, and then once you update that, you can bring it back here, John can bring it back here, and then we can send it back out to the campus so that folks know.
just about like Word docs. If they happen to submit it the day of a meeting, would we want to have like a little leeway in there that it has to be received within 5 days of the meeting? Yeah, like, I mean, we might just want to add that, just for clarification.
Yeah, just add a whole section that talks about the review of service.
You know what I mean?
Timeline.
Yeah.
Oh, great points. And that's part of what ACCJC wants us to do, continuous improvement, so we'll improve the form. Any other questions, thoughts? Please, in your areas, if you could share that just because someone sees an empty space, that there is a process in order to request that space. We're going to come back at a later date to talk about the facilities process, because our primary role here is instruction and student support, but our instructional facilities are also used and have to be by law because we're a public agency available to the public. So we want to clearly define how that process works, and what I would call is a first right of refusal. Let's use the gym, for example. We get a lot of requests to use the gym. Well, first, what we do is ensure that that there are no classes in the gym. And then from there, working with the department, we may be able to rent the gym out. And so we have some other spaces that we need to revisit and remind folks now that we are somewhat back, that we're getting requests for spaces and we're seeing very interesting processes that we need to remind folks that there are some things in writings with respect to that. So the other place we went on the tour, if you all want a good laugh, I had a good laugh today. Thank you to Dora and the A&R team. Were you able to make that happen? And so we went, and Marciano was insisted that I go on the tour. When we went on the tour, that we went to Admission and Records. And to my surprise, if you have not seen or been to Admissions today, stop by there after this meeting. And here is what every one of the folks in Admission and Records have. And if you can't see that, what the shirt says is Ricky said. And that is so funny to me, because if I haven't learned anything through the pandemic, everybody on this campus is saying Ricky said. And let me use this as an opportunity that if it did not come out of Ricky's mouth, chances are Ricky did not say. The shirt should say Ricky said, but check with Ricky first. But I thought this was funny. Thank you to Dora and the team over there. They all had a shirt on that say, and I ran into Dora last night and she said, "You're coming by A&R, right?" And honestly, it was not on the tour. We were trying to look at things from the lens of getting ready for the start of the semester and what buildings have we not been in a while. And Marciano made sure when we went to see the Ricky said, I think I should wear that shirt for convocation. Ricky said, thank you to Dora and the admissions team. Thank you for putting that up as well. Do you want to talk? Can you talk? Oh, that's advanced apportionment for 23-24 state budget. I sent this out to several of the leaders on campus. All of the managers have the advanced allocations. There's a lot of questions, particularly from our academic senate, about budgets. Roxanne, let's make sure that document gets up on the budget site. That is the document that has every one of the state funding sources, not necessarily the federal, but the state funding sources. So our general apportionment, all of the restricted funds like EOP&S, CalWORKS, Triple SP, SIA, SEEP, whatever we're calling that now. That is the document. The nursing grant that has all of the funding sources for the college. That document was shared. I believe I sent it also to Maria Jose. I hope I did.
Yes.
And all of the managers have this document. So if you ever want to know about a budget, certainly you can go to John Parker and his team, the website that they created to put these budgets up, or preferably to go to the manager who is assigned to the budget. Now, the only budget that doesn't necessarily have a dean over it per se is the equity budget, which Marciano oversees in collaboration with a couple of different things. One, that we actually had to submit an equity plan that outlines the budget plan for the equity budget. But also Ideas is going to have an allocation out of that equity budget that they then will come up with a process for the campus to be able to access some of the unallocated funds of the equity budget. But also keep in mind about 90% of our budgets are employee salaries and benefits, which do not leave a lot of wiggle room. Also, all of the managers are encouraged to keep a reserve fund for a rainy day. Something comes up. But those are the budgets for those who would like more information about those budgets. Janelle, did we include that in the attachment, the advanced portion?
I believe so. There's an attachment from the PowerPoint.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you all have the attachment, which means it was sent to the campus as well.
Ricky, just to clarify, because I know the budget conversations, I know we have now the council, the budget development council for the campus. So in regards to all budgets and bigger conversations, for example, for the equity fund, that there is going to be an allocation, but where do those conversations happen? Would they be happening in this council, like when they meet every other week? Because I believe it's.
So the answer is it depends on the funding source, right? So this is where this kind of gets a little complicated, right? So let's use EOPNS, for example. That will appear on that document. That is a standalone department that has regulations that goes over that budget with the people who are in that
Yes,
department.
there's, yeah.
So there are some programs like that.
Yeah.
The majority of what is discussed in that particular committee is the CAM and the BAM, which is the campus allocation model. That is what is primarily the purview of that committee, which is largely GFU funds that then departments and programs submit a request for funding. And I'm going to turn it over to Roxanne to explain that further because she's giving me the look like this is what I really do. So Roxanne.
So the resource allocation committee obviously meets throughout the year. And there's representatives of all constituent groups that go through a series of requests that are loaded in our program review. And that's when the requests are over, the committee go over the requests, they're allocated based on need. Safety is also a top priority. And then it's loaded into the budget based on the requests that are submitted and approved.
Yeah, and it's cleaner, Maria Jose, to do it that way because all the other budgets that are not GFU or part of the BAM or CAM usually have a program or a department connected to it. And those people are the experts in that field. The only one that isn't necessarily happening to the same degree is equity. And that is primarily partially my fault, and I don't know if I can say fault. It's a byproduct of us moving away from a model that didn't have a dean of equity. Now, when we had a dean of equity, that person wasn't spending the money and wasn't sharing the information, so that model didn't work. And the model that we moved toward was taking a look at the plan. So here's the way this needs to work with equity. Once we agree on the title of a dean, that dean will have purview over the money and collaboration with the committee. Where this was different for me, and frankly, I inherited this, is that as a college, we had a subgroup who wrote the plan that weren't necessarily on the committee. That's what complicated this. Now, frankly, by the time I found this out, because this predates me, and started working toward ideas, the next time that there is a plan due, there'll not would be a dean who will work with that committee to write the plan, and then that committee would have a greater involvement with the resource allocation. Where it's complicated now is a separate group wrote the plan, and then there's ideas, and then there's no dean. So we're working toward a resolution that as soon as we can take the position description through ideas and the roadshow, we'll be able to move toward that section, that process, which is the process for every one of these other restricted budgets to some degree or another. But that still would not go through this committee. It would be handled by the folks who are on the ideas committee.
No, because this is a council, so if we are under the Brown Act, right? So this is a public meeting and agendas and minutes will be posted to the website. Which means people need to know where the meetings are, how often, so they can go if they wanna listen and participate in the discussions about budget. So I would hope that's on the website, I don't know, but it's a public meeting, so anybody can go and actually engage in those conversations.
So let's do this, Janelle, for the next college council meeting, let's bring the diagram with all, in the handbook, with all of the committees. And I'm going to ask the vice presidents to lock down when the committee meetings are so that we can have a document here that we can discuss when all the meetings are and the committees, which just means we're going to need to reach out to our folks, because the meetings technically should not, some of the meetings are ongoing, but many of them will start in the start of the fall, right? So let's reach out
And
to the
that's, we
folks.
can create that master calendar that we were hoping to create for the internal.
So let's also put that on the exec cabinet, but let's bring that for the next college council meeting. That the vice presidents are going to work with Susan to bring the document so that we clearly say what meetings are happening when. And if they are not scheduled yet, then we'll just say they're not scheduled and we'll update them as they become scheduled, because some of them may need to wait till the faculty are here. Those that are not meeting regularly during the summer off times may need to wait until people come back to schedule the meeting. And that's fine. The ones we have, let's present them, and the ones we need to get set up, let's do that, and we'll report back once they've been set up. Thank you for that suggestion. Any other questions about the budget? Upcoming events, of course, we invite everyone to join us during fall convocation on August 17th. There will be lunch at noon. We'll hear from our chancellor and several other campus leaders. There is a resource fair. Marcelo, we want to talk about.
Yeah, so we have our annual or semester resource fair that will take place on the A building patio, where we will highlight all of our student services offices and services, so that folks can stop by and get information. Lori Oldham in Student Affairs is actually coordinating that. I believe the call out already went out to all campus for folks to participate. So anyone that wants to do that, be able to be a part of the resource fair, have a table, and I believe that Diego and ASG will also be there tabling. We have a whole week of activities for students that includes a carnival and some other welcome back event or welcome events.
Marcelo, just curious, is that part of the permission giveaway?
That will be that's later, but it is one of the activities.
Oh, wonderful. That's very wonderful.
Yeah, and I believe we shared at the last college council meeting, and Janelle, maybe you can send it back out. That document that Caesar put together that shows all the upcoming events, the affinity, what do we call it?
The welcome back events,
Yeah.
the
The fifth one?
That's right.
Yes. Yes,
It's already in the packet?
No, it's not. This
It was
is
in our
packet, but I can upload it to the website and share it.
Thank you. And that document will tell you about all the upcoming activities, which include the welcome back for employees and welcome back for students. And want to shout out Clarissa and the outreach team, Bianca, Caesar's team is killing it with the designs, and there are a number of activities coming up, and the entire planning team for Welcome Back Week. Robbie and his team going to have the new hire luncheon in the library, which is the first time, which is by invitational. That is, our new hires said they wanted to connect with other new hires. So it's for them to connect. Certainly College Council is invited. The deans are invited. The chairs are invited. But we don't have enough space for all nearly 1,000 employees, if you include adjuncts. And so that invitation has gone out because we saw a new employee today, so they received it. There are so many new employees, folks, that we're looking for ways to connect them with each other, but also to connect them with each of you. Typically, that information is sent out on email that introduces the new employee to the campus. So happy we met our new director of nursing, health center, total. What is the official title?
Director of Student Health Center.
Thank you, thank you. Is on campus today. We have so many new people. Please welcome them to campus. When you introduce, if you see somebody who you don't recognize, introduce yourself. Welcome to City College. Any other updates or events that people want to talk about? Thank you, Suna. I know I'm looking forward to going to the Chairs Academy on Monday. It's almost game time, folks. And want to shout out Jay and facilities. For those of you who are not friends with me on Instagram, and Jay, I'm not even sure if you realize it, but I shot a little video the other day just walking around the campus. Just I acknowledging the effort. We have some artists, folks, in Jay's team who make this place look amazing, and they are so understaffed. I want to just share this for the record, and I'll do so as convocation. I did not realize, and I'm going into my 7th year, that we split the teams with CE. It's just enough to maintain this campus, but to know that they also have responsibilities for, and I think that's Chavez and ECC. Yeah, that is unrealistic, and so I'll share at convocation that I am absolutely advocating for Jay and his team to have additional staff. We have opened the floodgates for overtime, but we don't want our folks to get burnt out. I don't blame them if they don't want to take the overtime. And so we are working to find a way to support Jay and his team, but they are doing amazing work with the challenges and adversity that they're facing. So Jay, please extend my appreciation to the team. And if you see one of them, show them some love, because these folks have talents that, I think we take for granted. We walk by something and we say, oh, that's nice. Well, you'll see in my social media posts, I got to see them put the flower bed together in front of the mural. And they had a whole approach to complementing the colors in the mural, in the flowers that they put down. And I just don't have those kind of skills. So when I see them, I got to show some love to the folks. So thank you, Jay, to you and your team. Any other updates for the fall? We are going to be introducing during convocation and a number of other spaces that in the 7 years I've been here, I believe this might be the closest that business services is to being fully staffed. And not only are they fully staffed, and I'm biased, but they probably have the best team of people. Because it's one thing to have people, it's another to have people who are good at what they do. And so we are expecting big things. We hear you all. We're going to be showcasing who the people are, what they do, give them some time to learn their jobs a little bit. But I am confident that we're going to advance the business office in ways that we just haven't been able to because they've been understaffed as well. I believe there's 2 additional staff people or more, no, 3, yeah, like 4 other people on that list. And they will be coming forward in the next college council. We'll talk more specifically about hiring, but we will bring them to college council because people need to know who these folks are, what they're responsible for. Tried to get them to put their faces on the internet. Mine's is all over the internet, but some of them are shy, so I get it. So we want to, bring them into the spaces so you can get to know who those folks are. Anything you want to say about that, Roxanne?
No, I just want to say that we have very, I love my team. They're very strong. They're citywide. A lot of them are students here. Actually, 3 of them are students here. One's getting ready to graduate this upcoming semester. So they're great individuals.
Yeah, and I hope everyone will have a greater level of appreciation of what they accomplished with what they had when you see what they're going to be able to accomplish with what they currently have. You all went from 5 to how many? You remember what the number was?
To 1. And 1 admin tech.
So looking forward and expecting some big things out of the business office. Help is on the way. Just continue to be patient with us. Planning agenda for the next meeting is on August 29th. Is there anything from the group here? We are open to suggestions for presentations. You see what we are planning for next meeting to recognize our City College heroes. If you didn't know, we had a counselor, Caesar, and a student and a police officer who literally saved a student on this campus. So we're going to bring them to recognize them here. John Voice is going to come with a safety audit. Your health and safety continues to be one of our top priorities. Our student chapter won a scholarship. The student and the faculty advisors are going to be here to acknowledge them. I regularly hear, Maria Jose, that we're not highlighting instruction. We are open to highlighting instruction. All you got to do is step forward. If a faculty member has a book, if there's somebody has done something noteworthy, if we know about it, we're going to bring them here. We're going to feature them in Caesar's monthly newsletter. We are open to that. We just need to know. Please work with the academic senate, work with my office. We have 2 amazing faculty members who took our psychology club to Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, Tilly, and one of our very own students won a scholarship as a result of it. We're going to feature them here in our next college council meeting.
Yes.
Are there any updates from the group that you would like to see on the next college council agenda? Okay. Hearing that, we added the one, Janelle, about the committee meeting times, the chairs, and we'll work with the vice presidents and Susan to get that on the agenda for the next meeting for those who we know are meeting, and then those that are TBA, we'll list those as well. Well, if there are there any other updates for the good of the order?
Just want to put a reminder.
Yes.
Scholarship, Jan Presidential Scholarship is tomorrow. Anyone's on campus, they're welcoming our students that are starting this fall.
Do you want to expand on that a little bit? Because this was actually Roxanne's idea. And not only was it her idea, but she went and got the money to be able to do the idea. You got to upsell this. Come on. This is our 2nd year of giving out scholarships to high school students. We did not give out scholarships. Come on, Roxanne.
All right, so a lot of you know, last year we started our high school signing days, where we went out to the high schools and we, those that have signed up and committed to City College, we gave them a signing bonus, like we gave them money.
$80,000 worth.
Yes, and then we gave them swag, city swag. So those students, after we finish all 9 schools, I just want to say, this year, second year, we have tripled the number of city college, high school students that applied and went through the signing day process. So from those applicants, they are eligible to apply for a larger scholarship and receive a MacBook. And that's the presidential scholarship that we're having the event tomorrow night, starting at 4 o'clock at the A patio. So of the students that have received the signing day bonus, they applied for the additional scholarship. We selected 10 students. And also the ones that submitted scholarship applications that were not selected were invited with their families to get a $100 bookstore gift card. So there's an incentive for everyone. And we're gonna celebrate them tomorrow. They'll get a lot of city swag. We'll have a little resource fair where the financial aid will be there, outreach will be there, the welcome center. Their families will be there with serving tacos. So it's a wonderful event. So if you want some wholesome, good love and feeling like, you know, this work here matters, go up there and see the lives that we're changing. So.
And I would add a couple of things. Great job, Roxanne, for securing the resources. And it will go down as one of the most meaningful experiences in my professional life. That last year at the event, I sat at the table with a student. We handed a $2,500 MacBook, and that student said they had never had a computer in their house, and they did not know how they were going to get a computer to go to college. So you talk about impact. That is direct impact, and kudos to you, Roxanne, kudos to Jim and Jan Senegal. And then lastly, Tilly, I hope we would send an email to all of those programs that are wondering if their classes are going to get canceled. Because Roxanne just said there's a resource fair with students and their families tomorrow night, that those students are going to be looking for classes to take, and you have an opportunity to interact with a student who may sign up in your class. That is a.
I can send it out. It's really late notice for faculty.
Was there like an announcement about this event?
Clerks sent out the flyer.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it's late notice for faculty, so I will send it out though, if I can get that first.
Anything that can help us to prevent canceling classes is a good exercise.
With that said, folks, hopefully we'll see you all. To our visitors, thank you. To Dr. Davis, hopefully you enjoyed how participatory governance work. They don't necessarily have that in North Carolina. We have some people who are experts at it. They come help you all out there if you're looking for some. Dr. Banks, look forward to seeing you in the CPT. Thank you all for being here. Everybody watching on Zoom, we'll see you on August the 29th.